Welcome. This is Reed Price. I'm the director of the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center, and you've stumbled upon something to talk about. Our program that we do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here at the Senior Center at 1:30 in the afternoon on a variety of topics. Today, we're going to talk about the new recyclable cutlery and dishware and efforts to try to reduce the amount of waste that we create in our fast food world. So we're going to get to that in just a minute, but I want to start by noting that our program is sponsored by Fieldstone Memory Care and Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island. Fieldstone is located up on Rolling Bay, and they offer day stay, and respite programs in addition to memory care. To learn more about their programs, call 360-689-4314, and you can schedule a tour. Also, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the ancestral homelands of the Coast Salish people, the Suquamish tribe, our neighbors to the north, the people of the clear salt water. We honor them, and we are very grateful for their hospitality. We have Hannah Ljunngren and Autumn Salamack from the city of Bainbridge Island here to talk a little bit about the changes that have been just introduced at the first of the year, designed to cut down on the amount of waste that is created by stopping by the coffee shop or other fast spots to eat. So, Autumn, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Thanks so much for having us today, Reed. Really appreciate it. I am going to just pop up my screen for a moment to show you a little outline of what is taking place these days regarding the new waste reduction regulations, because it's a little bit confusing for folks at times. Can you see that okay?
Perfect.
Slide. Great. So back in November of 2021, the City Council adopted new regulations that were really intended to reduce single-use plastic waste. And as Reed said, those new regulations just went into effect on January 1st of this year. And the intent of the regulations was really to reduce waste in our environment and reduce marine plastic pollution, to help protect public health, as a lot of the plastics that are out there now contain known endocrine disruptors that are very harmful to human health, and then to also reduce our dependence on petroleum-based plastic and to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So implementation of this ordinance and adoption of the ordinance was actually one of the priority actions identified in our 2020 Climate Action Plan. So the new requirements have a couple of key features. One, it requires reusable dishes for on-site dining. Number two, it requires that any items that are for to-go orders have to be home compostable, which basically means it's a fiber-based container that can break down in your backyard compost bin. Three, there is a 25-cent fee that all of our food retail businesses must charge for any disposable single-use cups, whether they are home compostable or not. And that is because we want to help cover a little bit of the extra cost associated with the home compostable supplies, but more so to really help incentivize people to get back into that practice of bringing their own reusable mugs. We know that during the pandemic, a lot of people got out of that habit, but it is now allowed again, and we really want to encourage people to do that, because those cups, just like plastic utensils, are often used only for a couple of seconds or minutes before they're thrown away. And then the other key piece of the new waste reduction regulations pertain to our lodging establishments. So that's hotels, motels, any vacation rentals, including Airbnb and VRBOs. And the ordinance says that you cannot provide single-use personal care products in traditional plastic packaging. So shampoos, soaps, conditioners, lotions, those types of things, if you want to provide a single-use container, needs to be in a home compostable package. And really, they're encouraging people to use bulk refillable containers as much as possible. One caveat, businesses on the island do have up to March 31st of this year to use up any of their remaining non-home compostable supplies for those to-go food and beverage orders in recognition of the fact that a lot of them actually had to do some bulk purchasing of supplies during the pandemic. And so just a word about home compostable, because we do get a lot of questions about what does that mean. Our regulations say home compostable means it's comprised of a natural fiber and or able to easily break down in a non-industrial composting facility. So if that means something that's made out of like paper, bamboo, coconut, sugarcane, and natural fiber. If you can find a product that is certified by OK Compost Home, that means it is for sure home compostable. It also has to be free of all intentionally added fluorinated chemicals or PFAS free. And this is the point that's really working to protect human health, because these fluorinated chemicals, like I said, are known endocrine disruptors, and they've been linked to cancers, obesity, thyroid disorders, early onset puberty in children. It's a really important thing to try to keep out of our waterways and out of our bodies. And then the third requirement is that it has to be certified by a third party. And we say specifically the BPI, CMA, or another city approved third party. So that's a lot of information about just what the regulations cover. So I will pause. And I'm happy to talk in more depth about any of that.
Well, just to move forward on that, it's going to represent some changes for those of us who are consumers, and I'm guessing that it's causing some disruption, even though there's a runway and everything for the merchants and the folks who are running vacation rentals by owner or other lodging.
Yeah, I would say that most of our conversations to date have been with food retail businesses. We actually haven't heard any questions or received any, pushback from lodging establishments on the island. Now, that said, Barbara and Diane are both business ambassadors. So the city has been working with the Downtown Association, the Chamber of Commerce, and Bainbridge Island Zero Waste to have pairs of business ambassadors go out and visit every single impacted business on the island, lodging and food retail. And so they've had some direct conversations with some of our lodging establishments and have talked through what those changes require if they need them. But a lot of the lodging establishments now in the hospitality industry have already started transitioning towards those bulk dispensers for shampoo, soap, and conditioner. So that is a little bit less of a burden, we hope, for the lodging establishments.
And how are things going with the retail establishments? What's the mood out there?
I'll let Hannah. Hannah is our climate action outreach coordinator, and she was hired specifically to help implement this waste reduction ordinance and really be the frontline staff working with businesses and taking in their suggestions and some of their complaints and some success stories as well. So I'll let Hannah talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, the mood really depends on the business. For the majority, we have had a lot of positive feedback from businesses, but some are obviously finding it easier to comply with our new regulations than others. For instance, if a certain product that a business is known for or utilizes doesn't have any home compostable options, that can be a really big challenge for them. Another aspect of feedback that we've been receiving from a lot of our businesses is concerns about the 25-cent fee. Not as much about having to implement it, but more the pushback that they might receive in terms of customers, whether that's residential customers or visitors, and similarly making sure that they are going to be able to cover these costs. Obviously, one of the issues that they might be facing in terms of purchasing these new home compostable products is an increase in cost. We've tried to help alleviate some of this by providing them with a large purchasing guide that has a variety of vendors that do offer compliant products, as well as securing discounts, but it's obviously a bit more pricey to be purchasing these home compostable options. With our ordinance, we are definitely trying to highlight utilizing reusable options as much as possible. So whether that is for the 25-cent fee, encouraging customers to bring in their own reusable mugs, or if you are on on-site dining, obviously utilizing those reusable dishes, and just trying to make it as simple for them as possible. For the most part, though, we are seeing that businesses are, in theory, very supportive of reducing single-use plastic waste and just trying to make it as seamless as possible for them on how they're actually going to be implementing that is really the most conversation piece we've had from businesses.
And is this affecting non-retail establishments? For example, I know the senior center is going to be hosting a Chili Hilly chili feed coming up at the end of February, where we're going to be handing out delicious chili to folks who have done the Chili Hilly ride, and we're going to need to serve them the chili in something. So are these rules going to apply for organizations like ours as well?
So the 25-cent disposable cup fee will not apply. There is an exception in the ordinance that says nonprofit entities or entities providing services on behalf of a nonprofit that operate as a retail food establishment for less than 10 days per calendar year do not need to charge a 25-cent disposable cup fee. We would want you to be using home compostable products for the distribution of any food and beverages at that event. And one thing that we're working on right now, we're a little bit behind schedule, but we are working to update the city's special events form to make that clear what the new requirements are. And one thing we haven't mentioned is that there are a few exemptions that have been issued through the end of the year for some products. So as Hannah mentioned, we have this really great purchasing guide. We've got a lot of examples of home compostable products that are available on the marketplace now that you can easily find. But there are some products where we have not been able to find home compostable options. And the ordinance says that if we cannot find at least 2 vendors providing readily available home compostable options, we can provide, or we can grant a temporary exemption for up to a year. So you may still see some items on the island that are not home compostable because we just don't have an adequate supply of home compostable products in the marketplace for them yet.
So I'm guessing that that we want to go light. We don't want to become vigilante policers of our merchants to start off with anyway. Give them a little time to catch up.
Yeah, I would say definitely like through March for anything to go, any to go orders. We do have this grace period in effect through the end of March. Now, if you do see that businesses are still using disposables for on-site dining, we do want to hear about that. Or if you notice that businesses are not charging the 25-cent cup fee, that's great to let us know. We'll just do some soft outreach to them to follow up with them and let them know that those are things that need to be happening now.
So what's the best way,
be kind and patient.
What's the best way to contact you? After
the best way is to go to our city website, bainbridgewa.gov/zero waste. There we have a lot of information for customers and for businesses, including a section that says how to report a potential violation, which you can do using See-Click-Fix if you are familiar with that feature on the city website.
Wonderful, wonderful feature. I've noted things like power lines being obstructed by branches and odd holes that appear occasionally in the streets. Jane Martin has her hand up. If you would unmute, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, so as a consumer on the island, when I get takeout food in a compostable container at a restaurant on Bainbridge, can that go in my Bainbridge disposal yard waste bin?
So we had a meeting with Heather Church from Bainbridge Disposal about 2 weeks ago. And we asked her this question specifically. And she said, if it is a home compostable container, yes, that's fine. It can go in there. The challenge for you as a consumer is going to be, how do you know if it's home compostable? Because there's no stamp, there's no seal or stamp that goes on all these products that says home compostable. A lot of products will say that they are compostable. Anything that is a plastic compostable item, do not put that into your yard waste bin.
Yeah.
If it is a natural fiber based, I don't have a great example right now, but if you have something, that is paper based, that does not have any sort of liner inside of it, like Hannah's holding up here, that is something that can go into your yard waste bin.
Along those lines, I do not have a home compost bin. I have not found one that raccoons, coyotes do not attack. Bainbridge Disposal's yard waste bin is slanted beautifully so animals can't get in. I don't have a problem. I do not want a home compost bin. I am not going to turn it. I am not going to shovel it. I am not going to do it. I know me. I've tried so many kinds. So I want takeout with products that I can put in the Bainbridge Disposal bin. How do you support restaurants and businesses so that they get the right kind? So it makes it easier for me as a consumer to support these businesses. Can I bring my own containers to takeout places?
Well, I'll let Hannah speak to that. We have information about that on the website as well, but that is the whole point behind the home compostable requirement, is that it's something that can go into your yard waste bin. It's something that can go into your backyard bin. It's something that can also go into the garbage. Now, the garbage is the last solution. That's not really where we want those home compostable materials to end up. But if they do, or if they were to get blown off of a truck or somehow make their way into our marine environment, they will break down there and they will have less pollution associated with them than a traditional plastic product. But Hannah, do you want to speak to can you bring your own?
Yeah. So with any kind of food containers, it's a little bit trickier than bringing, say, a reusable mug. With a reusable mug, you don't need any form of written plan with the businesses in order for them to refill it. But in terms of any kind of food containers, they do need to have a written plan established, and in which case they need to have that approved due to the retail food code. So if they have a written plan, then you can potentially bring in your own containers and they would be able to refill it for you. But otherwise, if they don't have a written plan, they would not be able to utilize your personal container to refill it.
And that's a written plan with the Department of Health, not with us. So we don't have any oversight on that. But we do have some information available on our website to help you at least understand, when it seems like you can and cannot do that.
Thank you.
Okay. And it looks like Barbara has a question as well.
Well, I had a comment, which is there was a great fair displaying the compostable products that the city put on. So restaurants could actually go and see, talk to the vendors. I thought that was a really helpful event. Instead of having to wander around on the website, on various websites, you could just go in and look at things. But then I want to piggyback onto Jane's comment and Hannah's most recent answer about needing a written plan with the Department of Health. Have you gotten any feedback from restaurants that they're interested in that or want to pursue that?
I have not received any feedback from businesses in regards to that, unfortunately. They wouldn't go through us, though, so there's a potential that they are implementing that with the Department of Health. I just, unfortunately, would not be privy to that information currently.
It sounds like a great idea of something that we might try to collect as we go forward of businesses that are getting a gold star or getting an add a person.
Well, maybe we could add that question to the, a future survey when the business ambassadors go out, because I'd really be happy to support restaurants that I could, if I wanted to order takeout, I could take my own container. And that's really important information for me. And I know I'm not the only one on the island.
No, I see Jane is right beside you and
yeah.
she's interested in that. Diane. You need to unmute.
Yes. So yeah, I was going to ask the same question Barbara had, if you knew of any businesses that were in the process of applying for the reusable container. So you said it's not in your hands. It's in our local health department's hands, correct? Don't they have to be the ones who give the approval?
Yes, I believe it's at the Kitsap County level.
Okay, so then we could check with them at some point down the road to see if any have applied.
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
One thing I would also
that's a great reason for us appreciating Sustainable Bainbridge, because you guys can help fill in the gaps here. Hannah, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Not at all. One thing I did want to touch on is if you are, say, dining in and you have leftovers on your own plate, you can utilize your own personal container to take that contents home. They just aren't able to, say, order a takeout meal and then provide your own container that they would fill. But if you have leftovers on your plate, they don't need a written plan for you to fill your own container.
That's a great a clarifying statement. I appreciate that. Okay, Anne has her hand up. Anne, you need to unmute.
Yes. Maybe I came in late, I'm sorry. But I was wondering about the horse biodegrader that some restaurants have experimented with on the island, notably the pub. And if there's any more interest in, they were composting food scraps from food production as well as post-consumer food scraps. It was a biodegrading big system.
Right.
Is there any
And
more?
and that's a new question. So
Oh, good.
The city has not been involved in that. That was before my time, and there's no current conversations that I know on that front. Diane may have something else to share though from her recent conversations with Bainbridge Disposal.
go ahead, Diane.
Well, not with Bainbridge Disposal, but the City Climate Advisory Committee was
Right.
talking with the people who did the pub's digester, but they were talking with, exploring the possibility of having a big biodigester for the island itself. But it's just remained in the talking stages. It would have required a lot of buy-in and money from the city and a location, and I don't think it's gone forward, but that conversation was happening about a year ago or so.
Yeah, that transitioned into a larger discussion about the solid waste system on the island. So the city right now doesn't have control of the solid waste system. We don't have a contract with Bainbridge Disposal. We don't have a good sense of how much organic waste is being generated on the island that could feed into a biodigester to know whether or not that is a project that could really yield viable results. So there's a separate study that is taking place right now to look at the solid waste system as a whole on the island and identify what potential next steps might be for the city to get more engaged in that process and potentially have a contract or a franchise agreement. And that would be a necessary first step and precursor to future conversations about, are we going to create a large biodigester, and would we have sufficient and consistent amounts of organic waste to feed that moving forward. So Diane's right, it is on sort of pause right now as we do this initial study.
Go ahead, Anne.
So quite a few years ago now, we were looking into doing this and talking to Don Palmer, which tells you how long ago that was. But we had talked to all the schools and all the restaurants and a number of other home food creation services and so forth. And at that time, Bainbridge Disposal was very interested in doing this. And I just feel like the time is better now than it was then. And maybe this is something we can kind of promote. And when I say we, I mean the senior center. I'm certainly interested in trying to get more people to recycle food scraps in a healthy, wholesome way that turns them into something useful. So I'd love to be part of that.
So that kind of gets to my next question, which is about what, as consumers, are the best ways that we can help support this. Obviously, packing a coffee cup or a teacup wherever we go is a good way to start. Other suggestions?
Yeah, well, definitely just bringing your own reusable containers wherever you can is great. If you are bringing your own reusable mug to a local coffee shop or cafe, please make sure that it is clean and in good condition and well insulated. We also had an early adopter pledge program last year, and we recognized 10 businesses that took this Erase the Waste pledge to voluntarily start implementing the 2023 waste reduction requirements in 2022. So we have those businesses listed on our website. It's great to support them and thank them for their early initiative on this front. We also have a customer Erase the Waste pledge with more ideas about things that you can do to help reduce single-use plastic waste on the island. And of course, we have our Climate Smart Bainbridge Challenge, which has lots of great actions that you can commit to take that relate to reducing waste, meal planning, composting, a wide variety of things that can really help you to reduce your waste-related greenhouse gas emissions. You can find all of that information on our city website at www.bainbridgewa.gov/climate action. And I don't know, Hannah, any other ideas, key things from your perspective to share?
I think one thing just keep in mind is that this is a learning curve for the businesses as well. So just being patient with them, as Autumn touched on with the mugs, making sure that they are clean, but also being aware that the business might not be set up to receive those mugs and being able to take that in stride if they're not willing to accept those mugs for any reason. Just being calm and patient as they're learning these new ordinances well. And as Autumn touched on earlier as well, letting us know if you are noticing that a business is not complying is always a great way for us to help them find the particular products that they might need, or just make sure that they know exactly what they should be doing, so we're able to assist them as quickly as possible as well.
And I'll get to you in a minute, Jane, but I'm wondering if Barbara or Diane, who were earlier identified as folks who have been doing outreach with businesses, might talk a little bit about some of the biggest either concerns or challenges or worries that some of the folks that you've talked to might have, or enthusiasms, I guess. I shouldn't rule that out.
I think there was more generally positive than negative, although there were some very specific, concerns, maybe about items, and then just some general philosophical concerns of, this shouldn't be happening, and, it's too much for our business and blah, blah, blah. But I think businesses were, one of their primary concerns was negative pushback to the young baristas or the young food servers. Mm-hmm. So, I think what Hannah just said is really important in terms of kindness and patience. And then the other thing we learned, not specifically about the ordinance, but there are many food establishments on the island who would like to have the ability to compost their food waste. And that just doesn't exist in our current system. So hopefully the conversation will be taken off pause and become much more active about what do we do with our food waste on this island? And can we keep it on the island instead of transporting it,
Yeah, because then you're just adding the fuel cost and pollution as well. Anything to add, Diane, or are you good? Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, those issues, one was with containers being able to, this is mainly with the places that have hot soups or hot sauces, and being able to make sure that the containers don't burn the customers and don't tip and leak, so that they don't burn the customers. And then another thing was that some places were really interested in having like sort of a mass buying, some organization, like they were saying the city, but the city can't buy in bulk the home compostable products, and then the individual restaurants could buy from them and have a cost savings. But
that sounds like something that Stephen Goldby should get involved with at the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. Jane, you have your hand up, so I am finally getting around to recognizing you.
I'm asking this question, and as a member of Zero Waste, many people ask me questions and expect me to know all answers, and I don't. So I'm asking for myself and others. The term minimizing plastic waste was a few minutes ago in this conversation. TNC has upped their clamshell containers for vegetables and fruit tremendously. And as a customer of Bainbridge Disposal, I'm not supposed to put that in my commingled recycling. I am a customer of Ridwell, so I collect and other people drop their clamshells off at my door, and we have a bag of pickup for the clamshells. It's a lot of work to do that. How does that change for more efficiency and less plastic? Any ideas? No. Okay.
I think this is this is a job for consumers to just give feedback to TNC of, gee, I would like to have purchased that product, but it comes in a plastic container that I'm not willing to be involved with the recycling or, support the production of it.
Boy, and I have to say that I have done that a number of times at TNC and not got much of any response. Oh, you're welcome to write up a little slip. Thank you. But for whatever reason, they've kind of changed their position, and that's sad. But you're right. It's up to us as consumers to make them understand that that's what we want.
Now, I may have this wrong, but Barbara, I believe you told me, and Diane, you might know as well, that even if there are commingled recyclable plastics, they're really not the best way to deliver food anyway, if we're going to try to be responsible in the long term. There's no magic plastic recycling, make it all go away sort of thing, right? I mean, they're harmful to the environment, and it's in any regard.
Well, that's true, but I personally want as little of my food exposed to plastics as I can possibly manage. So it's not just the plastic itself, but it's my exposure to any migration into the foods. And in TNC's defense, because I really do like them, and I think that they are a good environmental citizen in many ways, they were without a sustainability director for a couple of years. And so the position was filled maybe late last year, maybe in August or something. Yeah. And so she has to coordinate between all 6 or 7 of their stores in different counties. So it's a real complicated logistics problem for her. I still don't want plastic, but I'm just saying that's the territory she has to work in.
And
I like that blending of kindness and correction.
If people want to find out a little bit more about why TNC has made the choices it has, we just had a zero waste presentation with Marina, the sustainability director, and the food services safety director for the Safeway stores last week. And so we have a recording of that if people want to ask for it.
Yes, please send me a link. I'll put it in the link to this video.
Oh, great.
And share it with folks who are watching this later. Autumn, you have I mean, we should let you talk once in a while.
No, it's fine. I was just going to add to that, there's a lot of conversation happening at the state level, at the state legislative level around EPR, extended producer responsibility. And so I think it's probably less about the grocery stores and businesses choosing a plastic packaged product over a non-plastic packaged product, and more of like, this is what's available to them. So what we really need is at a state level, federal would be great, but at least at a state level, more of these requirements for the manufacturers of these products and the distributors of these products to say, you need to be providing products in packaging that can be readily returned back to a healthy waste life cycle system at the end. So it's really hard. All of these types of regulations are really difficult when you put it on the consumer to try to deal with the end product. And the ideal situation is that the people who are making these products and packaging these products, they are taking the necessary steps to reduce pollution at that point and to make sure that whatever it's packaged in actually has a viable end market for safe reuse or recycling.
And there are some federal governments who do better job of that than maybe ours.
So keep an eye on the legislation and speak up in support of these extended producer responsibility bills if they look like a good fit with your values.
And Zero Waste Washington really keeps an eye on legislative issues related to the environment. So I would suggest subscribing to them. You'll get a regular newsletter and you'll know what's happening in the state legislature.
Great. Well, those are the questions I had. And if there's anything that you'd like to add, Autumn or Hannah, before we wrap up. Otherwise, I'd love to get a check-in, in 6 months or so to see how things are going, and maybe there'll be some new initiatives that we can further support. Jane, you have something to pop in here with. You'll need to unmute. There you go.
I always have something else to say. The Chili Hilly, the lending library could lend metal utensils for a site to use fork spoons, and we have probably 100 bowls and mugs for single use, and then I could take them away and wash them. So I offer that as a possibility.
Great. We're working very closely with Barbara, who is a member of our board of directors, and we're going to try to be as responsible as we can. We serve more than 100 bikers. I mean, I think it's good to have it on this call that Sustainable Bainbridge has a library or lending for events that is around 100 people. So get in contact if you don't have such things. And I will also say that, you know, I was a little skeptical of how we could make a transition to using reusable glasses for water here, because I thought, oh my gosh, we're already washing all these coffee cups and everything, but Barbara helped us do it, and there's been no pushback, and everybody is just fine with taking a glass cup and filling it up with water and putting it in the bin. So it turns out not to be as much of a challenge as you might think it is going in. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Reed.
you.